So you want to run your first Facebook and Instagram ad moving into 2021? Well, I've personally spent over $100,000 on Facebook and Instagram ads for my own business, and I've ran over 200 workshops, mostly in person, mind you, on the subject to people like yourselves. So I've distilled down all the things you need to know in this video about running an effective Facebook and Instagram ad moving into 2021, and it's all done with the new Facebook UI, so it's really easy to follow along if you're doing it today. Hey everybody, my name is Preston. I help other realtors and entrepreneurs level up their business online, mostly through social media and paid advertising. In this video, I'm gonna break down A to Z everything you need to know about how to run effective Facebook and Instagram ads, so stay tuned. If you're running your first Facebook ad moving into 2021, leave a comment below and say Facebook ads 2021 so I know you're new. And if you have any questions, that's a great place to put them as well. So let's get into this video. All right guys, let's get into how to actually run an effective Facebook and Instagram ad straight away. So couple basics before we start, because this is for beginners, is let's understand a little bit about what ads are and where they actually show up. So when you're placing an ad on Facebook, you're entering into an auction. Now, this is really important to understand. You are bidding on getting your ad in front of an audience at any given time. So placing an ad, you're bidding in an auction to get your ad showing up on people's news feeds or in their stories or wherever you're placing that ad at any given point in time. So your ad will be more or less expensive depending on what audience you're actually trying to target. So for example, in my business, we target realtors, which is naturally a very expensive audience to target because there's a lot of people targeting realtors with ads. Now, there's a lot of places that are really inexpensive to run ads. Like if you were to run ads in say like India, for example, your cost per view, your cost per click is far, far, far lower than say in the United States. So it's just important to understand that type of stuff. But anyways, let's talk about where your ads actually show up when you place an ad and what an ad looks like. So ads are going to show up in a number of different places. Obviously, you probably know this. For example, on the top right here, these are called sidebar ads, okay? So you see these on the top right, those are sidebar ads. Now, most people ignore those, okay? We're all conditioned to actually ignore the ads on the right side of the screen. We've been seeing them most of our lives at this point. So you generally don't get a whole lot out of those, but they're cheaper to put your ad there than say in the news feed, which is one of the more common places to put your ad, which is right smack in the middle of your view, right? So one of the benefits of a news feed ad is that it's right where people are already looking, okay? People aren't really looking on the right-hand side. They're usually looking in the middle of the screen. So one thing I want to point out about this ad, which is really, really important, and most of the ads we run are actually like this. So the one thing you'll notice about this ad is that it's a very elongated image, okay? So it's not quite square, it's even a little bit more than square. We usually run our ads as square and not landscape view. And the reason that is because it takes up, look how much space it takes up on my screen. Now, I wanna explain something in an analogy here. Facebook ads are like a highway, okay? And you're driving down a highway as the consumer, right? And Facebook ads are like billboards on the side of that highway, okay? The only reason you're seeing those billboards is because you're on that specific highway for no other reason other than people might target you based on your interests and other things like that. And I'll show you how to do this in this video. But it's important to understand that highways are a distracting place. Imagine yourself driving down the highway. You got your partner in the seat beside you. You got your kids screaming in the back. You got the radio on. There's a lot going on in this place in the newsfeed, right? There's a lot of things happening. So ads are kind of like billboards on the side of the highway. People didn't ask for them to be there. It's different than Google ads, where Google ads are more like a storefront. You target people when they type something into Google, you put an ad out in front of them. So there's usually a little more premeditation with Google ads. Now, with Facebook ads, what that means is you actually have to really work to stop your audience from doing whatever they're doing, right? You're trying to disrupt or interrupt whatever they're currently doing to take action on your ad. So one of the good ways is to always use square images or even elongated images like that, like portrait images, because it actually takes up their whole screen and it makes them less distracted. So that's one thing to note. Also, when you use a single image in your ad, anywhere I click on this ad, anywhere, little corner, I'm gonna go to the link in that ad, which is the goal of this ad for the hustle, whatever it is. I don't even know what they're selling. I haven't seen this ad before, but it sounds like it's targeting entrepreneurs, so it's a little bit targeted, or it must be. So anyway, those are just a few types of ads, newsfeed ads, sidebar ads, and then let's get into the place where you actually run your ads, which is a Facebook business page, okay? So this is my Facebook business page. Now, A couple things I want to talk to you about a Facebook business page, and just explain the difference between a personal profile and a business page. So on a personal profile, you have friends, right? Classic Facebook, everyone has a profile on Facebook. You have to have one to use Facebook. With your profile, you can create a page, a business page. That's what you're seeing here as a business page. Now, on a business page, you don't have friends, you have likes and you have followers, okay? So people who like and follow your page sometimes will see your content, okay? Now, depending on how the algorithm is favoring you or not favoring you, you might actually get lower reach on your business page when you're making posts than on your personal page. But my point in telling you this is it's just important to understand the difference between the two, because you need a business page to actually run ads. So if you don't have a business page, you're not going to be able to run ads, okay? So that's really important. Now, a couple things when setting up your business page that I just want to talk to you about really quickly. When you're looking at your profile image at the top here, you want to make sure that everything important is actually in the middle of the cover photo, because what happens is the edges of the cover photo actually get cut off on the sides when people look at it on their phone. Now, the reason that's important is because you might not believe this, but over 80% of Facebook's traffic is still mobile. So, and that's only growing, and almost 100% of Instagram's traffic is mobile. So when you're running ads on Facebook and Instagram, people click into your page when you're running ads. It's important that if you have important information in your cover photo that they can actually see it and it's not cut off on the edges. So as you can see here, I have my name and all the important stuff smack dab in the middle. Another important thing with your when running ads is look at your profile photo, okay? So is your profile clear? Is it easy to read if you have text on it? A lot of people will go in their profile photo here and they'll put something like a bunch of text, for example. And when you run an ad, that photo gets shrunk into this little avatar here, and people can't read it. So make sure whatever you have in your profile image is just very clear and obvious of what it is for you, okay? So just wanted to cover some basics there. Obviously, make sure on your page you have all the relevant information filled in, and we're good to go. So anyway, let's get into creating an ad. So what you're gonna wanna do is in the top right here, you're gonna hit this create button, and then you're gonna go add. And if you don't have a business page, you'll just hit page, okay? Pretty simple. So click add, and it's gonna take you into the back end of Facebook. Now, I already actually have this loaded up for you. It's gonna prompt you here, like it will here, with a little, create new campaign. You can hit cancel, or you can go right into creating your ad. But I've just loaded up a different ad account here for you. And what I'm gonna show you is I wanna break down every part of this ads manager just so you understand it. So this is the back end of Facebook. If this looks really confusing, it's because it is. Now, this will get less and less confusing over time, I promise you that. And I hope this video will really help you understand each individual aspect. So there's really 3 parts to any given ad, okay? And by the way, this is the ads manager. This is just one piece of the whole back end of Facebook. If you go into business tools on the right here, you'll see there's all these other sections back here. And I'm not gonna get into all of those right now, but just to give a quick summary, your ads run through your ads manager. If you wanna install a pixel and track people who go to your website, you go to Events Manager. If you wanna create audiences of different people that you run ads to, you go to Audiences, and there's a whole bunch of other sections in here, but for this video, we're just gonna stay in the Ads Manager and how to run actual ads, okay? So there's 3 parts to any given ad, okay? There's the campaign, the ad set, and the ad, okay? Now, the campaign, you'll see these tabs here, campaign, ad set, ad, right? So the campaign is more or less your goal or objective. So what are you trying to accomplish with this ad? Are you trying to drive traffic to your website? Are you trying to get people to convert into a lead on your website? Are you trying to get people to buy something on your website, right? Are you trying to get people to message you? Are you trying to get people to attend an event or say that they're interested on a Facebook event? There's a lot of stuff you can do with ads. So it's important to understand what your actual goal is and what you want first. So that's your campaign more or less. Your ad set is all your targeting and your optimization. So, where's our ad showing up? Is it showing up in the news feed? Is it showing up on the sidebar? Is it showing up in stories? Your ad set is where you can select your budget. You can do your budget at the campaign or ad set level these days, but you set your budget, you set your location, you set all your optimization features, all that kind of stuff is in the ad set. That's the most complicated part, is the ad set. Then the ad is very simply the actual ad itself. So what copy are you using? What image or video are you using? What is your call to action button or your headline? That all lives in the ad. So if you want to actually just go and create an ad, you're just going to hit this create button here on the left. It's big and green. It may move places. They like to move it around sometimes, but it'll always be big and green. So this is the new user interface, okay? I'm taking you through the process with the new UI. Some of this, you might have watched videos in the past which are using the old user interface. This is the new one, so it should be a little more clear for you. Now, in the campaign, we're gonna go create new campaign, or if you wanna use an old campaign that you've already used, you select use existing and you can actually just select it and then go into your creating your ad set and your ad. But I'm gonna create a new campaign. So things to consider here, okay? Again, what is your objective or your goal? Now, feel free to obviously take notes, but I just want you to follow along and understand every part of the process, and then you can go back and rewatch parts of this video. So what is your goal? If your goal is just to send traffic to your website, choose traffic, but I don't usually recommend that. That's kind of a weak way to go about creating an ad, because if you're just trying to generate traffic, like, you got to have something more than that, okay? If your goal is engagement, select engagement, because it's important to understand whatever you select here will actually change all of your options thereafter in the rest of the ad creation process, okay? So if you choose engagement, it'll give you different optimization strategies to try to get people to engage with you. For example, to like your page or to comment on the post and engage with the post itself, right? So if you just want an engaging, you're trying to get a viral post, you can choose engagement. Another thing you do with engagement is you choose for events. If you're running an ad for event, you choose engagement, and then you would click down here, event responses. If you want page likes, you'd click page likes, because it'll put a call to action on your ad for page likes, okay? If you want post engagement, like I said, comments and stuff, choose engagement. And if for an event, you'll have to actually select the event in the later part of the ad creation process, so you're gonna wanna make sure you have that event ready to go. If you're doing video views, if you're running a video ad and you just wanna get as many views on that video as possible, then choose video views. It's gonna give you different optimizations for video views. If you want to generate leads directly on Facebook, choose lead generation. Now, the reason you're going to want to do this is because, and I'm going to show you later in the video where you actually find your leads, but with lead generation ads on Facebook, the best part about them is when people click on your ad, it'll actually pop up with a little lead generation form, and Facebook will pre-fill it with their correct information. They just have to hit submit. So if you're trying to get leads, lead generation ads will generally net you the lowest cost of lead, right? As opposed to the alternative, which is usually you would select a conversion objective, which means conversions, you want to send them somewhere else, like your website, to get them to convert into something, maybe a purchase or a lead or something like that. So generally that's what you do, is run conversion ads for like e-commerce, for like real estate, for most things. But if you want to collect the leads on Facebook, you can do a lead generation ad. Now, the only downside to this is you have to somehow extract those leads from Facebook, and you would do this by using a tool called Zapier. Now, it's $20 a month to actually use the Facebook ads tool with Zapier, but then you can connect your Facebook ads to your CRM, so that when you get a lead, it'll actually shoot from Facebook into your CRM. Because if you don't do that, you're just going to have to download all your leads manually, and it's not really an effective lead generation strategy when you're doing it all manually. With online marketing, everything, or as much as possible, should be automated. Now, last one here is messages. With messages, there'll be a call to action, send message, and it'll actually pop up a messenger window right away so that people can message your business. So it's just really important to understand what your objective is, because whatever you select here will actually change all of your options thereafter. So I'm just going to show you a type of ad that we might run, and the most common ad you're going to run is a conversion ad, because generally when you're doing some kind of advertising, you're going to want to actually do conversions, because it's going to track in the ads manager which, and this is really important versus traffic. I can't stress this enough. If you run a traffic ad and you want people to actually make purchases on your website, you won't be able to tell which ad generated those purchases. But if you do conversions, and you'll see on the side of the screen here, just if you look on the right, you'll see purchases is a column on the far right here, and it'll show me how many people have made purchases in this time period. And it'll show me on each campaign and each individual ad. So that means you can actually track which ads are working, because by using conversions, now using conversions, you have to actually install a Facebook pixel to use the conversion objective. And I'll link to that here. I have a video on how to do that. So if you haven't done that already, that's a good video to check out. But conversion ads will be the most common type of ad you will run. So let's select conversions, and then we'll go continue. Okay. Now you can use whatever naming convention makes sense to you. For me, if I was doing, we run a webinar funnel to sell our online course. So if I did webinar conversions, for example. So let's go into what, so now we're in the actual campaign details here. So there's a few things you can do with the campaign. One is special ad category. So ask yourself this question. Are you creating an ad for a credit, employment, housing, or social issue? For real estate, we have to select housing. If we're marketing a housing opportunity, for employment, you have to select employment, and for any financial opportunity, you have to select credit. Any election stuff will generally get disapproved unless you're approved election-based advertiser. You have to get approved for that. So what special ad categories are is they actually limit how much targeting you can do with your Facebook ad. So if you need to select one of these for your ad, if you're like an e-commerce store or whatever, don't worry about this. But if you have to select this, it'll limit your targeting. You can't target by age, by gender. You're limited in location, and you can't target by a lot of interest-based targeting as well. So I'll just leave it at that. For this, I'm just going to put special ad category off so I can actually show you every aspect of the ads manager. If you want to do a A/B test, this is where you do it. So how you generally do an A/B test is you're essentially testing 2 or 3 ads side by side to see which one performs better. It's a good idea if you're investing a lot in Facebook ads and you want to set a really good concrete strategy in place. And generally how you do that is you'd run the same ad 3 times with different photos or different videos. Then you'd add whatever wins, whichever one performs better. You would take that winning photo and you'd use 3 different pieces of copy and call to actions and stuff like that, and you test those. And whichever one of those won, then you'd go in and you take that ad, that's your winning ad, and then you'd start testing your audiences. So you start testing different interest targeting metrics, different lookalike audiences, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to get into that now, but just so you know what that is. Then you can do something called CBO, which is campaign budget optimization. You can turn this on if you want to set your budget at the campaign level. If you want to control your budgets more strictly, you can set it at the ad set level in the next stage. So if you had 2 audiences and you wanted to say you were targeting Canada and the US and you want to spend $80 on the US and $20 on Canada, you'd probably want to do an ad set budget optimization and turn this off so that you can control how much you spend in each with each audience. So anyways, let's hit the next button down here and we'll keep moving. So now you're going to name your ad set. So for example, my ad set might look like Realtors, US, Canada Realtors for my ad, for example. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to actually select the conversion event. So this is important to consider, okay? Now, our conversion event location for us is our website. You can actually use Messenger objectives too, if you want to send people to Messenger, but a lot of you aren't going to be able to do, or aren't going to be doing that. So I'm just going to show you website, and this is where you have to select your pixel that you should have installed. So I'm going to select my pixel, and then I'm going to choose and this will happen when you set up your pixel, and I'll show you in that other video I linked to. Then I'm going to select my event. Now I have events set up. So one event I have is complete registration. So complete registration is basically a lead. So what this is doing is it's telling Facebook that this is the event I want you to optimize for. So when you find someone who takes this action, go find more people like that. That's what you're telling the algorithm by setting up a conversion ad and telling the algorithm what you want. Okay, it's really important. A couple things you can do here. I know this is for beginners, but I'm gonna go into detail about every part of this so you have a full comprehensive understanding. You're gonna see on the right-hand side audience definition, okay? Now that's gonna say potential reach, and it's going to say however many Facebook users there are in your country. So if you're in the US, it'll say 230 million. If you're in Canada, it'll say 26 million. So that's because Facebook's going to default to targeting your entire country. Now, essentially what it's going to do is tell you some estimated daily results. Now, this is based on your targeting and your budget and all that kind of stuff. And this is going to change as we go through and we narrow down our audience, okay? Now, one thing to consider is there's an option of split testing, like I told you about, but there's a newer option that a lot of people don't know about, which is called dynamic creative. If I turn on dynamic creative, it'll actually allow me to put in my ad when we get to the next step, multiple headlines, multiple photos, multiple pieces of copy, and Facebook will automatically test all of those ads against one another and optimize. So that's a good option if you are running an ad and you want to split test, but you don't want to go through the process of actually split testing ads. you can just start off with a dynamic creative ad and see which combination of text and image and call to action work the best. So that's a really good option. I'm just going to turn that off for now for simplicity though. Now, next we're going to go into our budget and our schedule. So there's two options with your budget. You can do a daily budget or a lifetime budget. Daily budget means you'll spend X amount per day. Lifetime budget means you get to set an end date to your ad. So I could spend $350 for this month. It'll often pop up if you're going slow like me. This start date is in the past. Just click reset to today. So basically, lifetime would be good for like events, stuff like that. Say you have an event in 2 weeks and you have a $1,000 budget to market it. Set a lifetime budget and stop the ad at the start of the event, right? It makes sense, or the day before, whatever makes sense for your event. For me, we run evergreen ads, meaning we run them pretty much all the time. So I'm actually going to just do a daily budget, and I'm going to choose, say, $20. And that's really it for budget. Really, really simple. Now we get into the really interesting part, which is your audience, okay? So if you've created an audience in the past, you can use a saved audience. So you'll see here we have tons of them. But what you're going to want to do is just create a new audience. And if you have a custom audience, now I know this is for beginners, but there's something called custom audiences. Now, custom audiences is where you'd go into the audience section to create them. So you go over to the left and you go into audiences. And custom audiences are mostly for retargeting. So you can actually create an audience. So say a custom audience of, say, people who visited or engaged with my Instagram account in the past 365 days. So if you've connected your Instagram account, you can actually run an ad just to people who've engaged with your Instagram account or visited your profile. Pretty cool stuff. So this is like retargeting. You can do it with your Facebook page too. You can do it with people who watched. You can choose a video, like people who watched 3 seconds of your video. And I can take this any given video, and then I can run an ad to people who've watched that video. Now, I know this is for beginners, so I'm not going to get a lot into retargeting, but that's custom audiences. Most of you won't be using that if you're running your first ad, but it's there for you later. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to select where we want to actually run our ad in the location. So I'm going to run my ad. Usually I'll do the United States and Canada because our real estate markets are so similar that, and they're pretty much the exact same, that our services work for any agent in the US and Canada, and even like Australia and New Zealand. The UK is a bit different, but you can select whatever locations you want to select, and you can also exclude locations. So if you wanted to exclude, say, Washington, for example, you could do all of the US except Washington. Now, I love Washington, so I don't know why you do that. But if there's some tax reason that you're not doing it for e-commerce or whatever, you can exclude certain states, you can exclude certain places, certain countries. If you're targeting worldwide, which you can do, you could target worldwide, and then you could include worldwide, and then you could exclude certain countries that you don't want to target, like places where, reach is really cheap, but you get a lot of fake clicks and you don't have a buying opportunity. Like if you're selling an expensive American product, like you're probably not going to run your ad in some countries that can't afford it, right? And you might not ship to every country. So that's really up to you to decide where you actually want to run your ad. So for the purposes of me, I'm just going to choose Canada and the United States. And then we'll move to the actual targeting. So first, you're going to select your age. Now, you can do whatever age you want, really up to you. For us, we find 30 plus with our services work better. Generally, those are realtors who are a little further in their career and actually have some money to invest into themselves, and they're not young, savvy tech people who might be able to figure this stuff out on their own. Genders, like my partner runs a period underwear company, so she obviously just targets women. Makes sense, right? Now, what you're going to do, one thing I forgot to mention in locations, this is really important actually. So what you can do is people living in this location or living in or recently in this location, okay? Or you can actually do just people traveling in this location. So this will mean if you're targeting like around a city, for example, so say you're targeting where I am, which is Vancouver, you could actually target just people traveling in that location if you have a specific product, travel product related to that, tourist product rather. You can also do just people who live there. So for real estate, oftentimes we're doing just people who live in the location because we want to target homeowners and stuff like that. So there are location options for that. Anyways, let's get into the detailed targeting here because this is where things get really interesting. Now, this is the power of Facebook and all the data that they have, okay? So I'm just going to break this down for you as best as I can. Now, say I was selling a home, and we can't do this with real estate because of the special ad category anymore, but I'm going to give you an example of what I used to do just to help explain how detailed targeting works. So if you hit browse here, there's a few different categories that you can use. So one is demographics. So this is information about people. What is their education level, right? What is their household income? This is only data that's available in the US. Now, this is just for zip codes, so like wealthier and not as wealthy zip codes, right? What about, are they a parent? You can actually target parents with children of specific ages. So this is great for companies that are marketing to parents who have kids of a specific age. Like, say if you're running ads for diapers, like you probably want to know your ads just going to target parents who have newborns. Like, that's a great thing that Facebook can do. Now, think of it this way. You're probably wondering, how does Facebook know all this? Well, Facebook knows this in a number of ways. In the past, they used to use data mining companies, and they've recently stopped doing that. Not so recently, like a year and a bit ago, stopped actually doing that. And that's where the special ad category came from, was this big uproar around like Facebook has too much data and people are misusing it, right? However, think of this. How many people do you know that didn't make a post about their baby on social media, or their pregnancy, or their wedding, or their proposal, right? These are things people post constantly, and Facebook's algorithm can detect and read this stuff, and they can also do this by the behavior you emit online. So if you're in newborn or new moms, a new moms group or a new dads group or whatever, Facebook can tell that you're a parent, and they can generally tell by your purchasing behavior and your other behavior online how old your kids are. So it's a little creepy, yes, but if you're an advertiser, it works in your advantage. Now, the second thing outside of demographics is interests. So interests are based on actions you take on Facebook itself, okay? So for example, if you want to target someone interested in advertising, right? So this says people who have expressed interest or like pages related to advertising, okay? If you want to do banking or construction, people who have expressed interest or like pages related to construction. Now, the reason I'm showing you that is because it's important to understand what interest targeting means. Interest targeting, people get this confused, does not mean everyone in that audience is actually interested in that thing. It really doesn't. So what it actually means instead is that those people have liked or expressed interest in that subject online. So they like a page related to construction, or they follow someone who is big in construction, something like that. Or they've done some searches or joined some groups about home improvement or construction. Now, home improvement would probably be a different one. So that's interest and actually behaviors as well, is basically the pages people follow and the things people are interested in is interest, and then behaviors is the things people actually do. So like the devices they use, digital activities like the operating system they use, all this kind of stuff you can actually use to target people. Now, I don't want to make this too confusing, okay? So let's say I was selling a home with a beautiful wine cellar. Now, I actually had this happen, and I'm running an open house for that home. Who do I want to target? Well, I probably want to target people that are interested in wine, right? Because this home, one of the biggest characteristics of it was in wine country, but it also had this massive, beautiful wine cellar. Now, I can't imagine someone paying a premium for that property if they weren't really interested in having a big wine cellar. So what I could do is I can actually just search in here for wine. Wine pops up as an interest, right? Now, obviously, there's a lot of people who are interested in wine, but when you geo-target effectively, so I'll show you where I was targeting. So this listing was in Kelowna. Now, the Kelowna is known for being a wine country. That's where a lot of the wine is produced in Western Canada. So I want to target people who have expressed interest in wine. Now, that's going to be a lot of people in this area, but what it means is these are people who follow things like The Wine Enthusiast, and they follow like other, say, pages or organizations that are about wine, maybe some sommeliers and things like that. So I can actually target with my open house ad just people who are interested in wine. Now, this is just a metaphor for what you might do with your specific ad. So, for example, my partner runs the period underwear company. It's a very green product, so they can actually target people who are interested in like sustainability, and things like that. So these are people that follow maybe like Greenpeace and other companies like that. Now, I'm just using these as an example for you to actually help you narrow down your audience. Now, one thing you want to note as well is that you sometimes at first you don't want to get too narrow with your targeting. But if you do get too narrow, Facebook will generally tell you what your potential reach is and if you're being too narrow or too broad, okay? So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to put in Canada here again and the US just to show you, because this might be more relevant for more people. So if I want to target people who are interested in wine, okay, my potential reach here is 180 million people. It's most people are interested in wine of some magnitude. So what you can do with interest is you can add to this. So you might want to do wine and beer. Okay. So now people who are interested in beer and wine. Now you want to do people who are interested in cars, for example. Very, very broad interests. Okay. So basically you might want to narrow that down by like wine and wine tasting, for example. We can get rid of beer. Now, obviously wine is a very broad thing to be interested in. A lot of people are going to be interested naturally in wine. We live in North America, for example. So there's many things you can go in here and do. Now, another thing would be you could do parents, like I said. So if I wanted to target just parents, you'll see that normally what will happen is your audience here, your reach will actually get narrowed a lot. Now, the reason it's not getting narrowed right now, and this is an important point, is because you have detailed targeting expansion on down here, which will be on by default. So if I take this off, now what detailed targeting expansion is it'll reach people beyond your stated interests or characteristics that you're trying to target. Now, what that's saying is it's allowing Facebook to go outside of the things you're telling it to target if it deems it'll be of better value to you. So if you keep that on, your potential reach will mostly always stay the same. Okay? But if you take that off, then it'll actually show you the real reach of people in those audiences. So parents and people who are interested in wine is about 83 million people, okay? If I just did wine, it's 51 million people, okay? So now this is an important point. If I do wine and parents, so say for example, using this example I was using about the open house, if I wanted to target people who like wine and people who are parents, I wouldn't run an ad like this, and I'll tell you why. Now, I might want to do that because that property was like a 4-bedroom house. It was really big, and it would be suitable for someone who has children and who likes wine, okay? So what this means is either are a parent or are interested in wine. So this means they have to be one or the other, or both. It means they're either a parent or they've expressed interest in wine somewhere online. Now, if you want it to be and, so you'll see that it went from 51 million to 83 million. If you want it to be and, meaning I want them to be parents, they have to be parents, and they have to be interested in wine as well, you can click narrow audience. So you don't just add another factor in here because that does parents or wine. If I want to narrow the audience, now I'll put wine in here. And look at our audience. It went down from 83 million to 15 million. So now I'm just targeting people who are parents and who like wine. So now I'm getting more specific. Then you could even throw in some new things and narrow further. And you could say, oh, they have to like beer as well. And then they go from 15 million to 8.9 billion. So they got to be a wine snob and a beer snob and have kids. Now, obviously, this doesn't necessarily make sense in this context, but I just want to show you an example to show you how this works, because if you add them in the same section, it's going to be parents or wine, and if you click narrow, it's going to be parents and wine. They have to fit both criteria. You can also exclude people. So if you want to hit that exclude button, then you could exclude people who like beer, because hey, we don't like people who like beer. We only want to deal with winos. So anyway, now we're down to 6 million people because we excluded, right? So anyways, I hope that helps you understand how this feature actually works. And if you want to use detailed targeting expansion, if you're getting really specific, I wouldn't. Like for this example, if I'm running an open house to parents who are interested in wine, then I wouldn't want to actually turn detailed targeting expansion on, because I want that audience to be very, very specific. So now that's basically how you do your targeting in Facebook. What you can do as well, if you're going to reuse this audience, you can click the save button, and then you can just name the audience whatever it may be. So you could do US, Canada, parents, wine lovers. Now this will be really relevant for anyone doing, and you can add a bunch of stuff in here. So you could put like they must be a parent, and they either must be interested in wine or beer. So they must be a alcohol-loving parent. So then we're at 21 million. So you could do it both ways. You could say they must be a parent as long as they're interested in either beer or wine, or you could just say wine, okay? So then I could save this audience and say, wine-loving parents in the US and Canada. Done. And then I can reuse it next time. And how you'd reuse it next time is you'd go back up here and you do use saved audience, and then you would actually select your saved audience from there, okay? Really, really simple. So that's the really fun part. Now, next we're gonna go into placements. So placements are essentially where your ad's gonna show up on Facebook or Instagram. Now, what you're gonna wanna do is generally leave it to automatic unless you are a more advanced user and you have specific places you wanna put your ad. Like I run ads on Instagram stories only, and I make videos for Instagram stories specifically, okay? So if you're just running a photo ad, generally you want to use a square image, and that'll work well on a bunch of different placements, but there's a number of places your ad can show up. So if I select multiple, you'll see the platforms that Facebook uses. So Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, and Messenger, okay? Now Facebook, there's many places your ad can show up. The news feed, so this is feeds, marketplace, the video feeds, the right column. On stories, there's Instagram stories, Facebook stories, and Messenger stories. And then there's some more complicated ones. So there's like search results, there's in article, so in an actual article, an instant article that's popped up on Facebook. And then the last one is apps and sites. Now I want to explain this to you a little bit because what the Audience Network is a group of apps and businesses that Facebook is partnered with to show ads on those platforms, okay? So generally I would deselect the Audience Network. The reason is you have no control over how your ad's gonna look on the Audience Network. And generally your ad winds up in, think of this, any app that you log into Facebook with, generally your ads, if you select Audience Network, can show up on those apps. So if you don't want your ads showing up on Tinder, for example, you might not want to select Audience Network. Now, it just depends on what type of thing you're selling. Some people don't care. The Audience Network is generally cheaper to advertise on, but I generally deselect it. A good place to put your ads is just on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger. And kind of for most people, you can leave it. Unless you're doing something really, really specific, like again, a story ad, you would actually deselect everything but just the stories, right? If you were doing like, a square image and you were doing a clickable image and you didn't want to do stories, you could deselect stories. So I'll leave that up to you, but for all intensive purposes, for most people, if that's confusing to you, just leave it at automatic and let Facebook optimize your ad for you, okay? So that's mostly what you need to know in terms of the ad set and getting your ad out there in the most effective way. Okay, so that is pretty much everything you need to know in terms of the ad set. Now that's where you're gonna spend most of your time, is on your targeting. Now I just went through every aspect of this to show you how it all works so that you can use your best judgment, and hopefully that gives you the tools you need to go through this confidently. Now we're gonna move on to our ad, okay? Now I'm gonna hit the next button, and then what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna create our ad. So I might name this ad, say we were gonna do photo ad V1, for example. So I usually split test with a bunch of different images for my ad in order to get in front of my audience and try to hook them into actually taking action, because what I'm teaching in my product is actually really valuable and I want to get it out to the world. My problem in my business, and every business will have their own problems, is that there's so many people selling to realtors and so many of them don't actually know what they're doing. Fortunately, I have the benefit of actually being a realtor and providing a product that people love when they actually take action on it. So I just have to find a way to communicate that to my audience, okay? So I have a number of photos that I'll use for my ads, and I'll just give you an example of one I use here, and I'll show you how I go about creating the ad. So number one, you're gonna select your Facebook page, okay? So for me, I'm gonna select my Eric Preston Facebook page, and then I'm gonna select my Instagram account, which I've connected to it, which is at Eric B. Preston. If you wanna give me a follow, feel free to follow me on Instagram. And as always, guys, if you're enjoying this content, I'll just stop and say this. Please smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and the little bell if you want to get notified when I put out more content like this. And leave a comment. If you have any questions, say what's up. Just write Facebook ads 2021 below if you're new to this and you're finding this valuable. I would love to hear from you guys. I love the feedback. It really helps me create better content for you guys. So, first I'm going to select my Facebook account and then my Instagram account. Now, if you don't have them connected, you'll actually have the option to connect them here. But you need your Instagram account to be an Instagram business account, okay? Now, that's really important to note, because if you don't have an Instagram account, that's okay. You don't have to select one. Your ad will still run on Instagram, but it'll run on Instagram as your Facebook business page. If you have an Instagram account and you select it, your ad will run on Instagram as your Instagram page, okay? So that's just important to understand. Okay, now we're going to zip through and we're actually going to go down and start creating our ad. So I'm going to do a single image or video. Generally, what you would want to do is a single image or video if you want people to click on it and go to your website. Because anywhere they click on that photo, and you want to use a square image usually, they will take the action and go to your website. They don't have to click the call to action button. They can click anywhere on the photo. A carousel should only be used sparingly for products. Amazon uses this a lot, where they're displaying multiple products, and each part of the carousel has a different call to action. So on a carousel, you can have like 4 or 5 different things they can scroll through, and they all go to a different place, and that's good for products. And collection is very similar. So anyways, what we're going to do, we're going to go down to the ad creative section here, and we're going to start building our ad. So first things first is I can add an image, and I can actually just select from images I've previously used. So let's just say I want to use this image here. So this image is how to generate 150 leads a month with Facebook and Google ads. So this is an image that I've been running as an ad for quite a while. And a couple important things I want to talk to you about the image and why it's actually worked really well. This has been one of our highest performers. Is A, it says realtors at the top, so it calls out my audience right away. And then it says something very concrete: how to generate 150 leads a month with Facebook and Google ads. Pretty much on autopilot is what we teach, is how to use Facebook and Google ads on autopilot to generate a consistent pipeline for your real estate business. That's kind of our motto, okay? So it calls to the audience and it gives concrete results right there of what you're going to learn, what you're going to achieve if you want to watch our webinar, which is what we're getting people to opt into. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually start building our copy. So one thing you can do as well is you can just put in your website URL right away. So mine is rmmastery.com. Now I can just put in my website URL below, and you'll notice it'll actually pre-populate some things when I put in the URL. So this is the URL people are going to go to once they click on the ad. So you'll see the headline here automatically populated: how to start generating profitable real estate leads online. So you can leave that, or you can design your own headline here, okay? There's a couple of best practices to follow. One is you want to call out your audience right away and make it really obvious what it is you're selling. So for us, we might do something like this. And if you're on a Mac, by the way, you can do Control-Command-Space, and it'll bring up the emoji panel. So realtors, free masterclass, how to generate 150 plus leads per month on total autopilot. So that's your hook, okay? When you're designing that, you want to call out to your audience straight away. Now, click below to learn more about our free masterclass. So this is something you would not want to do, okay? Generally, what you want to do is you want your hook to be above the fold. So you see this little see more button? You want your hook to be more or less above the fold, but it's okay if the second part of your hook goes into the fold, because then it forces people to actually click see more to actually learn more, and it gets them engaging with your ad. Now, this is not really a good strategy. You don't want to do your hook and then your call to action. Generally, what you want to do is you actually want to insert some kind of story or piece where you can connect with your audience. So you could do something like this. I see so many agents. Now, just in the sake of time, I'm not going to type this all out, but I would put like, I see so many agents wasting their money on online advertising by not doing it properly. I'm a real estate agent myself, and I generate 300 plus leads on total autopilot every month for my team. Now, I've created a free masterclass for you so you can go check it out and actually learn how to do this stuff yourself. Now, click below to register. We have limited seats available, and I will see you in the training. Something like that. So you're basically going to go hook, story, call to action, okay? Now, you can also do in your headline something like this: free masterclass, how to generate 150 leads a month on autopilot. Okay, now you'll see that that shows up pretty well. Now, one thing to note as well, everyone, is that even though this free masterclass bit beside the learn more seems cut off, depending on the resolution of the device they're on, they might actually see the whole thing. So just because it's cut off there does not mean it'll be cut off anywhere, okay? You can also click see more and see your whole ad. Now, you'll notice that we're getting a preview of the ad on the right-hand side as I've been showing you. Now, what it's going to give you a preview of is everywhere you decided to put your ad as a placement. So, for example, Facebook newsfeed, Instagram feed, Facebook Marketplace. So I can see what my ad's going to look like on Instagram. See how it's totally different? The hook comes up at the bottom and it's much shorter, okay? So you can see what your ad looks like on Instagram. You can see what your ad looks like on video feeds. You can see what your ad looks like on stories, okay? Now, if you don't like the look of your ad in one individual placement, like say you didn't like the look of this on stories, you can actually click the edit button and you can edit the ad just for stories, okay? So you can go change template here and you can actually add in a template perfect for stories. So see how that shows up? That's really, really nice. So what I do there is I click save, and you can actually modify the headline and the primary text as well. So then you'd modify that and you click save and it'll process those changes and it'll edit the ad just for stories. Now, unfortunately, you have to do that for Facebook, for Instagram, and for Messenger if you want to. But it's an important point, and it's good to guys, if you have an ad that ends up being successful, the last thing you want to do is go back and start editing it. So it's better to spend the time here and get your ad right, but also know that even as a seasoned marketer, there's some ads I think are going to work well that just flop. And there's some ads that I think are going to flop and work really well. This is all about testing. So don't think you know exactly what's in your audience's mind and what they're thinking or what they're going to do or what they're going to take action on. It's all about testing. So anyway, that's going to take a few minutes to actually make that happen. In my experience, it takes a really long time, longer than it should. So they should fix that, Facebook. Last thing is the description. So if I look at this on, say, a Facebook desktop, one thing that's going to show up on the desktop better is the description. So you might want to add a description in here that's like, click here to register. Just a quick call to action and maybe have like a pointy finger or something like that. Now, the shorter your headline is, the more likely your description will actually show up because it usually shows up right under the headline there. Another thing you can do is when you have your URL, you also have the display link. So it's already shortened it to rmmastery.com, but you can have the display link be rmmastery.com if it's showing up as like something weird and long and you want it to shorten. However, the display link has to be the same core link as the actual link. So if you have a link that's super, super long and you want to shorten it in the ad, you can put in a display link here. Last thing is you're going to select your call to action. So this depends on what you're actually doing. We've tried and tested this, so have many other marketers. Learn more is the best call to action most of the time. Unless you're doing a book appointment for send message, like for people who want to message you, send message is a good one. Sign up is a good one for events. But generally, learn more is a good one because it entices people to actually go somewhere to learn something else rather than take a specific action right then and there. So we use learn more or sign up generally. And guys, that's really it. We've created our ad. How cool is that? So last thing you're going to do is hit publish, and then I'm going to show you a few more tips and tricks about how to get this ad off the ground. So I'm going to hit publish, okay? And now my ad's actually going to publish and go live. Now, I'm not actually going to run this ad because I didn't actually target realtors. I targeted parents and people who like wine, so that doesn't really make sense for my ad. Now, what I would normally do for my targeting here is I'd actually use lookalike audiences, and that's more, advanced stuff, but that basically takes all the leads that I've generated on my website in the past 180 days, and it creates a lookalike audience of people who are similar to them, and it keeps updating. It's really, really cool. And how you do that is you go back into the ad set, and it's just a custom audience. So back in the custom audiences section, so you can do custom or lookalike. So a lookalike audience is based on a specific data source or specific audience. So I can do a lookalike of all the leads that I've generated in the past 30 days, but there needs to be at least 100 people in that audience to create a lookalike audience around it for it to actually work in that one country. So like if you're marketing the US and Canada, you have to have 100 people in each country to create a lookalike audience for both. That's more advanced stuff, so I'm not going to go further into that. But what you're going to do is you're going to go back and you're going to see your ad here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over to the ads tab on the right, and then you're going to see photo ad 1. That's the ad I just ran. So decided you want to change something and that you're not happy with, you can click edit. You can go back in here and you can edit whatever you want. That's totally okay right away. But after your ad starts running, highly avoid edits. You don't want to make too many edits to your ad because it actually resets the algorithm and it has to start learning all over again. Also, if you generate 100 likes on your ad and you go in and you edit one word on the copy, Facebook will erase all of those 100 likes. So make sure you don't actually accidentally edit the creative in your ad because it'll wipe out all of the engagement that you've got on that ad so far. Because you guys know as well as I do, sometimes it's really, really engaging when you see an ad and you see it's like 350 likes. People are like, oh, it must be an interesting ad. There's so many people have seen it. So you want to make sure that you don't edit too much, okay? So you can go back in and edit it. Another thing you can do is you can actually hit this little preview button. Now this is really cool. Hit this preview button and you can actually share a link to this ad to someone else. You can actually see directly, so you can preview on device. So if you hit one of these, it'll actually send you a notification on Facebook or Instagram to actually see your ad. But the quickest way to do this is you can see post and you can go Facebook post with comments, and then it'll actually show you a live preview of this ad, right? So here's my ad, pretty cool. Now you can see if I click on this ad anywhere, it's gonna take me to my website or my landing page. And then one thing you can do as well, this is a really cool little trick, is you can actually like your ad before anyone else. So I can like my ad and then I can switch pages. I can go to my personal profile and I can love it, and I can go to my 8th marketing page and I can wow it, for example. And then anyone who sees that ad for the first time already sees a little bit of engagement on it, okay? So that's a cool little trick. But that is really how you run an ad. Now, last thing you would want to do here, I'm just going to pause this ad because I don't actually want to run it. So last thing you want to do here, everyone, is you want to look at your data. So let me give you an example here. This is one campaign I'm running with a lookalike audience, okay? And you can see all of the data in here, right, for this ad. Now, you're not going to see all of this data right away, okay? And the reason is you don't have your columns set up. So what you can do with this here is you can see columns and you can go performance and it'll show you the biggest performance metrics. If you have video, you can see the biggest video metrics. So you can manipulate your dashboard to see the data that you want to see. What you would probably want to do though is actually create your own. So I've actually created my own. And how you do that is you actually go customize columns here, and then you can actually start customizing all of your columns to get the data that you want. So for me, I have like the most important stuff for me. So how many leads did we get? What was our cost per lead? What was our cost per initiate checkout, which is what this ad's optimizing for? How many purchases did we have? What was our cost per purchase? Well, we spent $87 per purchase for this specific ad, which is a really, really high, good result. And our purchase value was $2,900 based on the purchases we got from that ad. And you can see, how many people clicked on the link versus how many unique people clicked on the link. So that means there was about 9 people in there that clicked on the link twice, right? What was our cost per click? What was our click-through rate? Out of every 100 people that saw the ad, how many people clicked on the link? That's your click-through rate. What was our CPM, meaning our cost per 1,000 impressions? So how much did it cost to have this ad shown 1,000 times? Now, these are actually high numbers. But the funny thing about Facebook is when you optimize for the thing that you want, like initiate checkout or purchase, we'll often get higher lead costs. We got higher lead costs than when we were optimizing for leads, but we get lower purchase costs. So really important stuff to actually know. And I hope that helps everyone. This should give you a good understanding of everything you need to know in terms of Facebook ads. You can see in this ad set as well, we actually ran 3 different ads. Now, it's a good best practice when you're doing an ad set to have 3 different creatives. So we have 1 video and 2 photos that are running, and you can see that they all deliver different results. So like these 2 ads seem to do the best because they generated purchases for $90 and $60. So whenever you have an ad set, it's good to have a few different creatives in there if you have them available. And the last thing I want to leave you with is if you want to duplicate an ad, or say an ad set is performing really well. So like this ad set was performing really well, but we're only spending $25 a day on this ad. Typically we're spending $300-400 a day. What I would do then is I would duplicate this ad set, right? I would duplicate it into the same campaign if I was using my budget at the campaign level. In this one, I'm actually using it at campaign level. So I would take my campaign and I would duplicate it, and then I would increase the budget. You want to avoid changing the budgets. Like if I just went back here and I just said, instead of 25 daily, I want to spend $100 daily, my ads performance will go way down right away. So you want to duplicate the ad set and increase the budget before you publish it almost always. You want to avoid editing too much. You just kind of want to leave Facebook ads. They're really, really finicky, whereas Google ads are a little simpler in that you can just increase the budgets and the algorithm will work with that accordingly. Facebook is a little more finicky, so just be careful with that. So yeah, guys, go out there and run awesome Facebook ads now that you have all the tools that you need. So good luck. Leave a comment if you have questions. I'm happy to help. All right, everyone, that wraps up this video. I hope you enjoyed this content today. As always, smash that like button. If you like this video, hit that dislike button. If you didn't, any feedback helps me create better content for you guys. Consider subscribing if you want to get notified first when I put out new content. As always, if you're a realtor, drop a comment below if you want a link to my online lead generation masterclass where I go over the A to Z of online marketing to help you level up your business online. Now, if you're still watching and you're still here, be sure to check out one of these 2 videos that I've posted up here to continue your education with me, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.